Thank you for listening and supporting the Daily Memphian. Sign up for one of our many free newsletters and breaking news alerts at dailymemphian.com/email to receive the latest local news stories impacting our community. Our weekly newsletters cover everything from sports to arts and culture, business, food, and more, along with daily updates of all the news we publish each day. Sign up or manage your email preferences at dailymemphian.com/email.
I'm Bill Dries with the Daily Memphian. We are joined by John Lancaster, Chief Development Officer of the Memphis Area Transit Authority. This is On the Record. We record Thursday, April 13th, 2023, and we're here to talk about an anniversary of sorts. This month marks 9 years ago that rail trolley service on the Riverfront Loop and the Madison line operated by MATA was stopped. The cause in 2014 was 2 fires on trolleys, followed by a decision to shut down the entire system, including the Main Street line, and take a look at a longer view at maintenance policies and things like that. So trolley service on Main Street has been back with us since April 30th, 2018. The Loop and Madison Avenue have shuttle buses that do not run on the rails that have been making both of those routes. And you may have seen some testing of the 2 lines about a year ago and just recently, I believe, but no regular rail service on Madison Avenue or the Loop since 2014. So first up, John, when does it look like these 2 lines will be back on the rails again, so to speak?
Okay, well, Bill, our big determining factor is getting our rail vehicles back in shape to put them on the rails. And that's been our longest lead item. As you may be aware, there's very few vendors in the North American market that does this type of work. So it's really only a handful, maybe 6 or 7. So it's a very limited number of people that do this type of work. Of course, coming out of the pandemic, everyone in that world was affected. Staffing has been issues for MATA. It's been issues for, these people that do that type of work too. So they're very hesitant sometimes giving us potential delivery dates. We have been in discussions with them, and we've developed a request for proposals, which we are about ready to release. And once we release that and we get some responses from them, they will actually give us, hard dates on when the delivery of the vehicles will occur. Usually they've been telling us anywhere from, 18 months to 2 years, a minimum. Now, and we're looking at multiple vehicles. We actually prepared an RFP for 4 vehicles back a couple of years ago. We did get some grant funding from TDOT through the Improve Act process. So that's where we got the funding for the vehicles. But then we, as you mentioned too, some testing, we were looking at these modern U2 vehicles. We found that we could buy them very cheap and fix them up. So sometimes it makes it more advantageous when you can bundle more work together. It's slowed down our process, but as we're coming out of the pandemic and our other vendors, we're hoping that, we'll get a better response and hopefully better pricing. In the past, we've been able to buy these rail cars very inexpensively, but it's very expensive to fix them up. And right now, too, with the inflation, we're really concerned with what that cost is going to be. So we've been trying to make sure we line up our infrastructure repair, and you, I think, alluded to that. And you may have seen recently we're doing some concrete repair out on Madison Avenue, getting the track bed back in shape. We've got some other switch machines we're working on Riverfront. We've got to replace some ties. We've got to look at some of the work on the Beale Street Bridge. We've got to check all this out. And then, of course, we have all of the safety certification process, which, as you probably been reporting on this, know that, again, you've got local, federal, and state agency oversight that really, examines everything that we do. And another issue that slowed all of this process down has been over the years, some of the rules have been changed. I mean, this is nationally. You may be aware that WMATA years ago, they had some actually subway issues. So the federal level, they've looked at making it more stringent on some of the safety requirements. The Federal Transit Administration now has a new, what we call Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan, or PTASP. So we've had to go through all of that process. So we learned the process. The rules kind of tend to change. It's just been a whole myriad of issues. And then, of course, we're a smaller agency compared to, your New York's, Boston, and LA. The people that do a lot of this work, they have much bigger orders. So a lot of the people that do repair the vehicles, it's hard for us to get in line, so to speak. We're the little guy. So that's kind of some of the issues and things that have delayed our process.
Right. And so it sounds like that there's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of safety assurance factors that come into this that you have to wade through. So it sounds like it could be maybe another year. I know there's so many hoops to jump through, but is it fair to say maybe another year or year and a half?
Absolutely a minimum, in my opinion. And I think that's what the general consensus is, from here with our operations and maintenance team. And that's something else. We've had some turnover within our staff. It's very difficult to find really qualified people. Our director of rail, trolley, and maintenance, he was outstanding. He recently retired. So we've done some reorganization within the organization for his new assignment of duties. And so there's a learning curve for the people in those positions. And we've kind of restructured how some of the maintenance and operations will work with the trolley staff. So there's training and learning, and it's been a lot happening behind the scenes. I know from the public standpoint, it's like, well, there's hardly anything happening. What's going on? But behind the scenes, there is a lot. And of course, we've been aggressively trying to seek new funding sources. That's something too. When we shut the system down, we didn't get some of the ongoing, it's only a small amount of federal maintenance capital funds for keeping the things up. So we've been having to rely on discretionary grants, again, through the State Improve Act. So we're cobbling together funding as we go, addressing safety issues, and again, training staff and all of those good things.
Mm-hmm. In this time when we talk about such concepts as cities becoming denser, our city in particular becoming denser, and the need for public transportation, this is a very different discussion than it was in 1992 when the Main Street trolley line started up. Talk to me a little bit about what you see as the case for having a trolley system in the first place, because like you said, people don't see the trolleys, and they don't see the work that's going on to maintain that and also get the funding to put some new cars on there and improve the surface. Talk to me about the value of the trolley lines to the city.
Yeah, and I think that's an extremely important thing to look at. The economic development that comes with rail systems is tremendous. And what you alluded to the growth in downtown, St. Jude and the Pinch District, we're looking at, I think it's $3 to $5 billion of investment over the next 5 years, which is tremendous. We've got the Union Walk that's occurring downtown on Union. And then, of course, if you look at our Central Station redevelopment, when the trolley line was opened in 1991, South Main hardly was a ghost town. And today you've seen South Main come back. And of course, the reinvestment that we've done at Central Station, that's a 20-acre site. We've got 5 acres of new apartments on that facility. So returning all of this to the tax rolls is a huge benefit to the city. And of course, with our bus rapid transit line that we look to connect, it's a synergistic effect of all of this new development and planning. Got to add a compliment to the city of Memphis, the Department of Planning Development. They've really done a good job doing a transit-oriented development study for essentially the Union Avenue corridor. And again, all of this added density and investment is great for the city of Memphis. And again, the trolley can't take all the credit for it, but it was a big kind of thing that spurred the development. Back the pyramid was built on the north end of town. We built the trolley line. You had a lot of growth then went to South Main, and now it's coming back in the Pinch District, and then all along Main Street, you've got redevelopment occurring. So there's a lot there. And with the Riverfront, with the potentially the One Beale development, we know that's kind of on hold for now, but I think that'll come back in the future as well. So there's a lot of positive things happen. And again, these are slow, but hopefully we're growing the system back as the city grows.
Mm-hmm. It is. I know that much of what META does and what you've outlined, including the trolleys, is made possible with federal funding. And you talked about TDOT state funding that sometimes is federal funding that's passed through, and that federal funding comes with a lot of rules and regulations. But my question is also: is there federal funding that META gets for having these trolley lines that goes to other parts of the system, like the bus routes? Since the idea is to have all of these different things connected.
Well, actually, the federal funding is extremely directed. It's actually, we have Section 5337 is the federal capital funds that flows just to the rail system. There is 5307 funds, which is another, again, section. Each one of these, that is capital funds that flows to the whole system. But primarily that we use it more for our bus system. But that's the other problem, is there's not as much. The bottom line is it takes operational funding to keep the system operating,
as opposed to capital funding.
As opposed to capital, right? And you also have to match your federal capital funds with local funds, and sometimes it's easier to get the capital funds through the federal government, but it's the local match that it can be an issue too, both from the capital side and the operating side. But the key issue, or the biggest thing that META has, is the operational funding. And of course, going back to the transit vision, again, that was focused on the bus system, but again, it called for $30 million in annual operating funding. And of course, now we're getting the pilot funds, or payment in lieu of taxes, which will be a dedicated stream, but it starts out very small and then it grows over time. So that is, it really helps, but we still are really struggling with the local operating funding. And of course, as we try to bring back the Madison line, looking at these U2 cars, we've got some new funding needs for the trolley maintenance facility to expand it. We still haven't identified our funding source for that. So there's another need there for some more capital funding. So like I say, we're attacking from all sides, and we've had some great progress with the participation from the city and the county with coming together with the pilot funds. That is a great start too. And then of course, I'll throw out there too, you've got Blue Oval City. TDOT has been a great partner in helping us fund things. Can't say enough about the Improve Act funds. That's really helping us get the trolley system back. But there's a lot of good things happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's just slow.
Right. And just a final point here. You've talked about the U2 cars, and I happen to have seen them out there. These are larger trolleys that can carry more people than the vintage trolleys that we've seen, and they're more modern looking, right?
That's correct. Those they're Siemens U2 cars. They actually came from San Diego's system. They were probably built about 1990. They used them for their whole useful life, probably over 20 years, and they were essentially mothballed, and they replaced them with newer vehicles. So that's how we bought them very inexpensively, and the big cost is actually bringing them back up to a level that we can use them. But of course, they're a different size, they're bigger. The Madison line was originally designed for modern Siemens vehicles. Little bit different configuration than these U2 cars, but very similar. So, and even when we built the Madison line, we knew when we went to modern cars, we would probably have to make some adjustments to the existing stations. And of course, we're looking at having to do that as well. How the system operates, ideally, we would need another station down near Main and Madison. But again, you're correct. The capacity of the people, I think these U2 cars can carry nearly 200 people. The Melbourne Street cars that we operate, you can pack nearly 100 people in those. they carry a lot of people too. So
moving ahead with it. Okay.
right.
We have been talking with John Lancaster, the Chief Development Officer of the Memphis Area Transit Authority. I'm Bill Dries, and this has been On the Record.
In-depth journalism in the Memphis community, the Daily Memphian is of Memphis, not just in Memphis, and seeks to tell the stories of this city. TheDailyMemphian.com. Truth in place.